What's up, everybody? It's your boy KG. We got episode 7 of Free Knowledge coming to you guys live and direct. Thank you guys for tuning in. We 7 weeks strong, man. That's a beautiful thing. So thank you guys for all your love and support. Continue by pressing the like button and click the subscribe button as well to get updates on future content. And also don't forget, share it with your family and friends. This might be some people that need to hear this message. Share with them. We want to just continue spreading positivity and love. And I'm not even going to waste any more of you guys' time. I'm going to jump right into it right now. So we're going to talk about relationship goals. And that's what the topic is this week. And just to kind of give you guys a background of, how this came about, I was just actually thinking and having conversations with different people who have been, just like yourself, listening to the podcast weekly, and they brought up the topic of, relationship goals. That's something, that's a thing that's everybody's kind of talking about. A lot of people are tuning into Mike Todd and his situation, talking about relationship goals, and he has a book as well that he talks about those topics. And I think everybody has their own perspective on relationship goals. And one thing that I truly, in my own personal experience with me and my wife, and I think it's so important to have these 3 different segments when it comes to relationship goals, and I'm going to break them down in full detail for you guys on this episode. So the first one is going to be friends with purpose, and then the second one is going to be dating with purpose, and then the last one is going to be living in your purpose or reaching your purpose, however we want to categorize that one. But I'm going to go through those, and I'm going to break those down, and I'm just going to give you guys, my perspective on it and the things that I've experienced, and then just having conversation with different people that are in marriages for a long time, or people that might have been in a marriage, might have been divorced, and just the different knowledge that I was able to gather from different people before making my decision of saying, I want to marry my wife and I want to be with her for the rest of my life. So giving you that knowledge, and like I said, going back to it, free knowledge, I want to give it to you guys so you don't have to endure it. You can be able to gather the information and use it as you need. So just again, starting off with the first one, being in that stage of friends with purpose, I think that's very important. And I know before I even go into that, let me give you a background of this, because with me and my wife, when we first met, we were friends for a very long time, where it was never like I tried to come on to her or she tried to come on to me. It was just friends. It was just platonic. And I think that was one of the best things for me as a male, because a lot of times you can have female friends, or even maybe on the female side, you could have guy friends, but you might cross that line of being friends. And I think for us, it was where we just were strictly friends, where I was able to be my raw self, she was able to be her raw self, and we were able to, enjoy each other in that friendship phase. And that's what allowed us to grow. And once we got to a point of having that foundation of being friends, we're like, like let's pause for a second. Let's make sure that we're doing everything in the right way. Like, let's be friends with a purpose. And that's how we get to that first layer of discussion, is friends with a purpose. And that's how we got there. And it was really genuinely being friends. Literally, when you have a friend, and I looked at it and I used to tell her all the time, like, my best friends, are my guys, and we talk all the time, and we share everything with each other. And I told her, I said, I want to love you like I love my brother, like how I love my homies. Like I want to love you like that, because I have a love and bond with them that we could talk about anything and stay up all night just talking on the phone, or whether we're playing the game. Like, I want that type of friendship in my marriage. So we had those discussions about what things she wants. Like, what are things that you look for in a friend, and something that you want. And the reason why it's so important to have that foundation of friendship when you're looking for that relationship goal situation is because you want to have somebody that you genuinely love to be around. And if you think about, you have your friends and you can be around them all day, but you still have those moments where you're like, okay, you got to go back to your house. I want to go back to my house, get some space. And that's perfectly fine. That's normal in any relationship. But the thing about it is that when you're in a marriage, like, you're around this person all day, every day. So I wanted to be someone that I can be around every day. I can laugh, I can joke with you, I can do all these different things. So we laid that out. And basically, like, our friendship contract in the beginning when we started things off, we're like, okay, we're gonna be friends with purpose, and that allowed us to build that solid foundation. And one of the biggest things of our conversation, which is why we're so successful with our marriage, is because our foundation started with God. When we first started talking with friendships, like, she knew that I was big on my faith, and I found out that she was big on her faith, and that was like wow, like, it was like that hallelujah. It was like that moment, like, it was like that moment, like, literally I was like, wow, this is a woman, she's a woman of God. Like, not only is she beautiful, she's intelligent, she's got her degree, and but yes, she loved the Lord. Like, I was like, oh wow, this is perfect. Like, this is what I need. And same for her, and I don't want to speak for her, but I know my wife, like, same for her. She was looking at, like, wow, he's a man of God, he's educated, well spoken, things of that nature. So those are things that attract us to each other. But we're like, okay, you know what? But we still want to make sure that we're incorporating God and we're putting the right things in the pot when we're cooking. And you cooking up a good meal, you want to put all the right ingredients in there and make sure that it comes out right. So we got all the right ingredients. We're both educated. We both love the Lord. We're both great people. Now we have that all in the pot, but now we got to make sure that we're putting it all together in the right fashion to make sure that we're going in the right direction. And that kind of leads to the next thing, is dating with a purpose. And that next phase, when you're dating with a purpose, now that we've became friends and we've got that foundation of God, we've been authentic with each other from the beginning because we're our raw selves, that now we're able to move to the next stage of dating with a purpose. And as you can already tell, dating with a purpose, that in itself tells you what it is at that point. We're dating. We're truly dating. I'm dating you. You're dating me. But I think a lot of times, especially now in this current climate, a lot of people can, like, if you ever been in that dating realm of just dating different people, right? People tend to say stuff like this, like, oh yeah, I talked to that person. Oh yeah, me and her talk. Or me and him, yeah, we talk. Or, we got a situationship or whatever. And it's like, what? Like, what's that? Like, what is that? I don't understand what that is. And I think that was the biggest thing for me when I got to that point in my life where I wanted a relationship. Like, I wanted it to be just between me and this one person and God. I knew in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm not just dating people. Like, and that was an eye-opening moment for me when I got to the point where I was, like, trying to date and, like, find the woman that God that he had provided for me. It was like, okay, people just are dating a bunch of people, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling that. And I think that was the biggest thing for me when you talk with somebody, is knowing that they're gonna be completely honest with you, and they're gonna say that they're talking with you and no one else, and you're doing the same thing, and you guys are growing towards the same goal. And that's the reason why we have it, dating with a purpose, is because not only am I dating you, but me and my wife, we sat down, we said, we're courting, because we already grew that relationship and that foundation of God, being authentic with each other. So she knew who I was, I knew who she was. But now when we're dating, we're like, okay, like, we're dating to be married. We're not dating just to date. And I think a lot of people date just to date, or sometimes they date and they don't even think about the person that they're truly with. And that's one of the things that in the Bible, it speaks to it a lot, is like being evenly yoked and just having a vision of what you want for your life. And I think that was something for me that I knew what I wanted. And when I brought that to my wife, I'm like, I want to be married. And she said the same thing. And so we're like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We got all the ingredients in the pot. So we're standing in front of it. We're putting it together. We're coming up with this master plan of a meal, of a relationship. And now we're saying to ourselves, like, okay, what is the end game? What is the end goal that we have to dating with a purpose? So that's when we started truly courting each other. And if you're looking for, what is courting? Like, that's when you're like, okay, I'm going to date this person. I'm serious with this person, and we're in the process of getting married. And that's what we did, because we wanted to not be, in that worldly mind of like, oh, we're just talking. We're not talking. Like, no, you my girl, you my woman, you're going to be my fiance, you're going to be my wife. And that's what it's going to be, and vice versa for her to me. And I think that was the most important thing, in that stage of dating with a purpose. And then the second thing that I want to say about this area of when you're dating with a purpose, and I think a lot of people skip this, and this was so pivotal for us in our relationship when we were courting each other, and we're like, okay, we already knew that we were dating to get married. So we're courting. And so now the next thing at that point is like, hey, let's seek wise counsel. So that wise counsel came from both of our parents, our grandparents, because these are from our generations that have been married for years. So not only that, but then now getting the outside perspective, because now if I'm getting counsel from my parents and my grandparents, I've always got counsel from them. I've always got counsel from my brother. Same for her. If she does from her parents and grandparents, she's always reached to them for information. But now, not only take their perspectives, but now let's bring somebody outside from a biblical standpoint. And I think that's what helped our marriage get to a very solid, strong foundation. We went to premarital counseling. And if anybody is listening to this and you're in a relationship right now and you have a fiance or you're looking to get married, I highly suggest you do premarital counseling, because it was one of the best things that me and my wife could have ever done to prepare us for marriage. A lot of people might say counseling, like, oh my God, like, we're not crazy, we don't need counseling. Like, no, it's not for like being crazy or bad things. Like, it's for good things. That's just like with your car. You take it to get an oil change because you want to keep the maintenance up. You want to make sure nothing does go wrong with your car. Same thing with a marriage. You have to work at it every single day. And I think with us going to premarital counseling, it brought up so many different topics. It talked about finances. It talked about debt and finances, financial literacy. It talked about roles in the house. How do you see yourself in the house as a wife? How do you see yourself in the house as a husband? What about parenting? How you discipline your kids? Everybody, you got to think about it. You're bringing two lives together, making them one. And you guys both have two different backgrounds of how you grew up. Yes, we both love the Lord, but the way that she grew up was different from the way that I grew up. Doesn't make one better than another, but when everybody's coming together to become one, you have to agree on these things, because if not, if you just go to it like, oh, I'm attracted to this person, they're attracted to me, and let's go get married. But then now people think once you get married, it's like, oh, like it's just like all these stars and all that. Yeah, it's beautiful, but at the same token, there's things that come with that, and you have to be well equipped and you have to be prepared for those things. And that's why it's important to have that strong foundation in God from the beginning when you're building that friendship and having that friends with purpose stage. Because if you have that strong foundation, like, okay, this is my friend at the end of the day, and I'm going to take care of her. She's going to take care of me. And if you don't have that, what happens is that's why you see a lot of marriages crumble. They go through divorce, they go through separation, because sometimes that foundation is not that strong. And if you have a strong foundation of God, like, that's the main thing. That's what's going to keep all these marriages together. And if you seek counsel from anybody that's been in marriage for a long time, is God. And that's one thing that I've learned a little over 2 years with our marriage, is that, you have times where you're mad at your spouse and you're upset with each other. But one thing about it is, because it's a triangle of love, where it's me in one corner, my wife in another corner, and God at the top of the triangle, is that if we both continue to grow and make that triangle smaller and smaller to get closer to God at the top, then we're both growing in the right pace. And when I have to take her along with me, she has to take me along with her as well to continue to get closer to God. But if you have a relationship where your foundation is based on physical looks or finances or status quo, like if that's your foundation, those things come and go. We know that those things come and go. So if you with a person because, they got a nice car or they got a nice job, what happens when they lose their job? Does your marriage now go into shambles? So those are different things. And I think when we have our foundation on solid rock of God and the things that he calls for us to do as husbands and wives, then we're in a better place. So I think that's the biggest thing, is having that true understanding of what dating with a purpose is, because that's the ultimate goal of where you want to get to. And then once we get into our last segment, which is truly reaching that purpose, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, but once you reach that true purpose of reaching marriage, you guys are now married, you're in that place, and now it goes to a different segment. Now it breaks off to, okay, what's my purpose as a husband? What's my purpose as a wife? And now you guys tackle those two things together. Individually, you still have your personal relationship personal relationship with God, but then you're still coming together because now once you're married, you're now one. So we're one. So we're praying together. We're doing all these different things together, but then we still have to have our individual personal relationship with God as a wife and as a husband. And I can tell you that I love that. I love having conversation with my wife talking about God. Like that is one of the best things for me. And she always just encouraging me, and she surprised me so much when she gives me so much knowledge, and vice versa back to her when I give her knowledge, because I love that. I love when we talk about God because God is right there in the midst when we're talking, and it's like that allows our marriage to grow, that allows our relationship to grow, our parenting to grow, and it brings us to a whole nother level. But now once you reach that purpose of, okay, now I'm in marriage, we reach that purpose. Now it grows into another thing, because now when you become married, Lord willing, you have kids, and now you have to have a relationship with your kids, so a father to a daughter, a mother to a daughter, a father to a son, a mother to a son. So it kind of breaks out in those different things, and that relationship goal can continue on and on and on, because now me as a father, I have a daughter. I don't have any sisters. So for me, now I have to have a strong relationship with my daughter, because I understand the importance of having a relationship from a father to a daughter. Because being out in the world and you're dating, you're trying to find different women, and you find people that don't have that father figure, that don't have a mother figure in their life, and you can tell. And I know to see the importance of that, because now a child that doesn't have that strong structure at home, a father that loves them, a mother that loves them, now they go into the world looking for love, and that's not a great situation for anybody. So I think that those are things that I've learned from getting to that point of reaching the purpose of marriage and being married. But then now it's like, okay, now not only am I continuing my personal relationship with God, but now I'm still growing with my marriage with my wife. And then now, not only that, now I'm growing into a relationship with my kids. And I think that that's just a wonderful thing to experience. So I just kind of wanted to go through that with you guys. And I hope that that was something that you guys got through this entire conversation, is that, that there's different layers when it comes to relationship goals. And the ultimate goal that we all have in mind is that we want to be married. We want somebody that loves us and that loves us for who we are. But I think the most important thing is that having that foundation of God. If you both have those principles of standing on God and what God says we're supposed to do as husbands and wives and in marriage, everything else will take care of itself. Yes, there will be difficult times. Yes, there will be ups and downs. But at the end of the day, if you have that structure of standing on God as your foundation, as your rock, that you'll always come back to it. And like I said earlier in the episode, you'll have moments, when you guys are not speaking or you're upset with each other. But I can tell you from personal experience, God, when you have that personal relationship with God, like you could be doing something, you're like, okay, I'm not really pumping with my wife, I'm not really having too many conversations with her, or she might be that way with me, and you'll be out and I'll be watching the video or listening to some music or anything, and God will hit me with that conviction, like, why you treating my daughter that way? Or he might hit her with the conviction, why you treat my son like that? Because you have to look at it, and this was a great perspective that I learned the other day. We're reading this devotional. Me and my wife always read devotionals through the YouVersion app together, and I think I encourage you guys to do that as well. If you're dating somebody or you're married, to read relationship stuff together, read it and talk about it and chew on it together, to have that constant conversation and having God in the middle of it. So that's just another little nugget I'm gonna leave with you. But as we were doing that, it was talking about if we look at God as like, so my wife, God is her father, right? So if that's her father-in-law, I got to look at it and say, how is God pleased with how I'm treating his daughter? Like, for example, like when I wanted to marry my wife, I had to go to my father-in-law and say, hey, had that conversation man to man, and assure to him that I'm going to take care of his daughter. So that's the same thing with God. We got to do that same exact thing, because at the end of the day, that's God's daughter. When it comes time for me and it's my time. He said, how'd you treat my daughter? You did this. Those are things that's real. And as a husband, those things convicted me to say, you know what? It's not that serious. Even if I wasn't wrong or I was wrong, let me go back and let's correct that, because the bigger picture and the end game is that we're here to glorify our marriage and give God the praise, like give him the glory. Like, so when people see us out, say, wow, you guys are a beautiful couple, man, I appreciate that. Really our foundation is God. We can give that glory back to God. So that's one thing that I kind of want to leave you guys with is just making sure you're always looking at it like, okay, if you're a wife and this is your husband, are you treating God's son right? And for the husbands out there, are you treating God's daughter right? Because if you have a great relationship with your father-in-law or your future father-in-law or your future mother-in-law, you wouldn't want to disrespect them by disrespecting their child. Same goes for God. That's higher power. So we have to have that even more respect in that stance. So I'll leave you guys with that. And I know we talked about a lot of different stuff with the relationship goals, and I kind of want to sum it up right now with the 3 takeaways. So get your pens, get your paper out. We're going to go through them real quick right now. So the first takeaway that we have is foundation. And like we talked about earlier in this episode, having that strong foundation that we can truly stand on, of building it from a friendship and being authentic with each other. But then the most important thing in that foundation is staying on God. If you both have that agreement of God and the Bible is the direction that you guys go back to for correct answers, you guys can walk in agreement together. That anything that you go through, you can point back to the Bible and say, what does it say is the right thing? And that's what we're going with. Then you have structure, you have foundation to stand on. Number 2, the second thing is seek wise counsel. As I stated before earlier in the podcast, you're going to have your family that you can refer to or friends that you can refer to get that wisdom, get that knowledge. But it's also important for you to go outside of your comfort zone, because you've always reached to these people for advice in your family, your close friends, whether you're a male or a female. So now let's both find somebody that we both like. And the great thing about it when you're seeking wise counsel is that it's free. Like our premarital was free. We didn't have to find we didn't pay all this crazy money, and we went, I think it was probably for like a 3-month period of time. You went 2-3 times, and we found it from a local church when we were in Nashville. We literally typed in Google free premarital Christian counseling, and or biblical counseling. And when we found that it was free, it was like, okay, what's my excuse for not going now? Let's go check it out. So that's another thing, is just seeking wise counsel. Find a premarital counselor, or even if you're already married right now and you're like, maybe your marriage is not where you want it to be, definitely find counseling, because it's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with finding counsel to get somebody who can be that mediator between you and your spouse, to have a healthy conversation, to leave that conversation and say, wow, that really helped us. And it's not something you have to go to all the time. Maybe you go a couple times to, get through those different things that you're going through in your relationship until you get comfortable enough to be able to communicate effectively with one another without needing a mediator between you two. So then that moves on to our last one, is basically put it into action. Right now, you guys have heard all these different resources and the different segments of relationship goals. Now you have to take these things and put them into action. So now that you've heard these things, it's time to implement them. There's nothing else really to say about it at that point. It's just simply implement those things into your life right now. Some people will listen to this and say, wow, this is powerful. You're dropping a lot of nuggets. You drop a lot of jewels. And then you never implement it. And that happens to a lot of people. And that's why there's people who are successful in life and people who will talk about I want to be successful. I should have been successful. Shoulda, coulda, woulda situation. But at the end of the day, there's some people who hear knowledge and they apply it to their lives right away, which is a wise person. But a person that hear the information, know that it's good information, but then go back to their own ways, we know what that is. We don't want to be that person. So right now, I'm giving you guys free knowledge. I'm giving you free game. Take it and implement it into your lives. So those are our 3 takeaways for the day. Like I said, just to recap them again, we got foundation, seek wise counsel, and then put it into action. So this is episode 7. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. every single week. We're 7 weeks strong, so I appreciate you guys very much. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and definitely share with your family and friends. I hope that you guys enjoying your day. Love you guys. Peace out. Love you.